one.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Mossberg. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
This is Today.
Boom! Welcome to Today, brought to you by Boss Shot Shells.
That's right.
I'm Jeff
April
Stanfield.
28th. April 28th. It's my day today.
Well, I butchered that right off the bat.
Well, that's all right. Bonito Mussolini is executed today.
He killed my grandfather, my great-grandfather.
He did. Rest in peace, Miss Dr. Stanfield. So do you know the story about how he was found?
No, I actually don't know much about him.
So
other than he was a dictator.
Yeah, and even that's a little bit weird. So I've done a little bit of reading about it, and it seems like he was propped up by Germany.
From the 20s on?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know about that. So he had a couple of, his dad was a socialist, and then it kind of seems like he was just kind of a puppet for Germany.
He damn sure did that during World War II.
Second World War kicked off.
There's no doubt about that.
So on April 28th, 1945, Benito Mussolini and his mistress, Clara Petassi, I can't pronounce these Italian last names, are shot by Italian partisans who captured the couple as they attempted to flee to Switzerland. So everything was starting to fall. Excuse me. Everything was starting to kind of fall down around them, and they figured they needed to get the fuck out of Dodge because they didn't want to get captured by the Americans or the British. They knew if they stayed in Italy, it probably was not going to end well for them. So they tried to go to a neutral country, which was Switzerland. They got there late though, because when they got there, they kind of had the border secured. They kind of knew a lot of people were going to start fleeing. So he dresses up in a Luftwaffe coat and a helmet, hoping to slip into Austria with some German soldiers, but it did not work. They found out who he was, and then they shot him right there.
So he was trying to be a Luftwaffe pilot.
Yeah. Because I guess other Germans were going across the border at that time. So they shoot him there, and then they transport him and his mistress back to Milan, where they are hung upside down for public display. Now, they leave him hanging there for quite a while, and basically the Italians just beat the shit out of him and do all sorts of, basically, what was it, Gaddafi? Where they paraded him through the streets and just kind of made him, I don't know what all they did, but it was not good. But his body was mutilated. So then they got to find out what to do with his body. So they don't want to make a marker and then have the remaining fascists have like a spot to go, kind of like Osama bin Laden. So they buried him in an unmarked grave, and then years later they find out where he was buried, and fascists stole his body. A group led by Domenico Lessi, I can't pronounce the Italian names, a neo-fascist, secretly dug up Mussolini's remains and smuggled them away. The body was missing for 4 months. Eventually, authorities found it in a small, remote monastery in the town of Pavia, south of Milan. The monk, it turns out, had been harboring the remains in secret. They later claimed they had no idea that it was Mussolini. After the recovery of the body, the Italian government kept it hidden under police control for nearly 11 years. Finally, in 1957, after long negotiations and under political pressure from Mussolini's surviving family and supporters, the government agreed to release Mussolini's remains to his widow. Why the fuck she would care about having his body? Rachel Mussolini. His body was formerly buried in his family crypt in his birthplace, small town of Predapio. Boy, I tell you what, they got some names over there, don't they? So his descendants are actually active in Italian politics today. His granddaughter, Alessandra Mussolini, she became a politician and a member of the European Parliament. Early in her career, she was associated with far-right movements, openly embracing her grandfather's legacy. Over time, she shifted a little bit more to the center. Another one, Rachel Mussolini. She's also involved in politics. She was elected to Rome City Council. And that's it. So there's actually a Mussolini fashion line floated around at one point. So
I'll be damned.
Mussolini could not get away even though he tried. Now, the guy that was born to... So that was the guy that died today, obviously. Mussolini was executed. The guy that was born today, the king of late night talk shows?
Johnny Carson.
No.
The king would be, if it wasn't him, it would be Steve.
Jay Leno.
Jay Leno died?
Born.
Oh.
Mussolini died.
Jay Leno was not the king of night.
Great ratings.
He was good, but he wasn't no Johnny Carson.
Great ratings. One thing I did not know. So Jay Leno, his top salaries was about 25 to 35 million, or 25 million to 30 million a year. Johnny Carson was making that in his day.
Johnny Carson was the best.
I don't think there was competition like it was. So, a little bit about Jay Leno. Did you know? But they actually thought it was going to be Letterman that took Carson's place.
There was a lot of going back and forth because Letterman had the late show, I think, at that time.
Right.
And then he went to ABC or CBS after that.
Right.
But his feelings were hurt that Jay Leno was given that job and not him. But I think Johnny Carson pushed for Jay Leno to get the job.
Yeah, probably so. So he made a couple appearances. He made his first appearance on The Tonight Show on March 2nd, 1977, performing a comedy routine. During the 70s, he had minor roles in Good Times, Holmes, and Yo-Yo. He appeared in a film, Fun with Dick and Jane. He was uncredited in that. Started in 1986, Leno was a regular substitute for Johnny Carson's on The Tonight Show. And in 1992, he finally replaced Carson as host amid controversy with David Letterman, who had been hosting Late Night with David Letterman since 1982. Many people, including Carson, expected Letterman to be his successor. And then they ended up giving it to Leno. The story of this turbulent transition became the basis of a book and a movie. Leno continued to perform stand-up comedy throughout his Tonight Show tenure. In 1988, he received a contract extension with NBC itself. July 1995. He gets Hugh Grant on, who had just been arrested, and that was when he saw rates higher than Letterman for the first time. And then he continued that basically through their career. Leno always had better ratings than Letterman.
It was a lot better show.
Then another controversy happens. 2004, he signs another contract extension with NBC that will carry The Tonight Show until 2009. And Conan OBrien is supposed to take The Tonight Show over in 2009. I don't really know what happens. So Leno gives the show to Conan OBrien, and then NBC gives him a show right before The Tonight Show with Conan OBrien. So anyway, he kind of retired. He didn't retire. He got another show, and then that took away from The Tonight Show with Conan OBrien. And then they have the Winter Olympics. And they push back all of the Tonight shows to make room for the Winter Olympics. And then NBC makes the decision that they're going to push back the Tonight Show to midnight. Conan OBrien said that's not going to work. Like, this is just...
It's too late.
It's too late. Right. So most of the time, local news ends around 11 p.m. The Tonight Show starts at 11:35 p.m. And then the late night show starts at 12:35. They wanted to... So they moved Leno before the news, then you'd have the news, and then you'd have the Tonight Show with Conan OBrien. They basically wanted to do news, Leno, and then the Tonight Show.
And that's what we have in our time zone, but the Eastern time zone was different. Right.
So Conan OBrien says no. They end up paying him $45 million out of his contract. He signs with CBS later on, and then... yeah, that's basically history. So he was not a part of one late night controversy, but two.
And he done a good job with Johnny Carson. But Johnny Carson was the king, I think. He was great. Because things were different then, and we didn't have all this instant TV and YouTube and all that stuff. So everybody watched The Tonight Show.
Yeah. Inside Hollywood, Jay was seen as the villain here, even though he technically didn't steal anything. NBC was the one that was making all the moves. Many comics, including David Letterman, Jimmy Kimmel, Howard Stern, and Bill Burr, publicly criticized Leno for not just walking away into the sunset.
Piss off Howard Stern.
So early 2000s, like I said, he's making about 15 to 20 million per year. Reports are he could have been making 25 to 30 topping out. Carson was making the same amount of money. He took a pay cut in 2009, cut his salary in half, basically to about $15 million a year. It was reported that he took this pay cut willingly to prevent the firing of the staffers from his show.
I've heard that before.
So
good guy, good for him.
I mean, call him a bad guy or whatever you want, but
I don't think he's a bad guy. I just don't. I like Carson better, but Jay Leno doing a good job.
Yeah,
TV was so different then.
Yes, it was. So for my event for today, a boxer refuses to be inducted into the United States Army.
Oh, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. April 28th, 1967, boxing champion.
Cassius Clay.
Muhammad Ali. Well, he's Muhammad Ali now. Says he's not going to go to the Army for religious reasons. Mm-hmm. Converted to Muslim. He was born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. in Louisville, Kentucky. The future three-time world champion changed his name to Muhammad Ali in 1964 after converting to Islam. He scored a gold medal in the 1960 Olympics in Rome and made his professional boxing debut against Honey Hunsaker on October 29, 1960, winning the bout in 6 rounds. On February 25th, 1964, he defeated the heavily favored bruiser Sonny Liston in the 6th round to become heavyweight champion. On April 28, 1967, with the United States war in Vietnam, Ali refused to be inducted into the armed forces, saying, I ain't got no quarrel with those Viet Cong. On June 20th, 1967, Ali was convicted of draft evasion, sentenced to 5 years in prison, fined $10,000, and banned from boxing for 3 years. He stayed out of prison as his case was appealed and returned to the ring on October 26, 1970, where he knocked out Jerry Quarry in Atlanta in the 3rd round. On March 8, 1971, Ali fought Frazier in the fight of the century and lost after 15 rounds, the first loss of his professional boxing career. On June 28th the same year, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned his conviction for evading the draft. I don't know how that happened. Seems kind of cut and dry to me. On January 24th, 1974, rematch at Madison Square Garden, Ali defeated Frazier by decision in 12 rounds. On October 30th of the same year, an underdog Ali bested George Foreman and reclaimed his heavyweight championship belt at the hugely hyped Rumble in the Jungle with a knockout in the 8th round. So he retired from boxing in 1979, and he returned to the ring in 1980, where he fought heavyweight champion Larry Holmes, who knocked him out in the 11th round after losing to Trevor Berbick. On December 11th, 1981, Ali left the ring for the final time. He had a record of 56-5. He is the only fighter to be heavyweight champion 3 times. In 1984, it was revealed Ali had Parkinson's disease and he died in 2016.
You know, he's friends with all the boss guys. I think he grew up around them.
Right.
Because Snow Bunny was telling me his granddad was real good friends with him. Yeah. Supposed to be a really good guy. He's a great fighter. I mean, debatably, it's kind of like the LeBron, Michael Jordan. I don't think there's really you can't tell either one. I saw Mike Tyson in his prime, and he was a bad dude.
Tyson has said Ali would beat him,
and I'm not a boxing analyst by any means, but
I just kind of
there were different types of fighters.
I think Ali was a lot lengthier.
He was an athlete.
Well, I think he was longer too. I think it would have been hard for Tyson to get and find that middle ground, and
he found it with everybody else though.
He did. But I think, like I said, I don't know how much of it is like posturing by Tyson, but he has said that Ali would beat him.
I think they're the 2 greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. I think those 2 are, and George Foreman's probably 3rd. And the guys, the gypsy dude. That
wonder who's made more money. Probably George Foreman.
With the grill? Oh, yeah. George Foreman made a lot more money than they did. Plus, fighting was, the grill. Tyson made a ton of money.
Do you know Hulk Hogan was supposed to have that grill?
No, he was pretty stupid on Hulk's fault.
I don't think, I think he wanted it, but I think they gave it to George Foreman.
George come out as such a good dude when he came back. He got
some other thing that flopped. Hulk Hogan did.
Well, when George Foreman come out of retirement and started fighting, when he fought Tyson, everybody loved him. He's 50 years old and he's fighting, and it was a good story. Yeah. And he just passed away last week or 2. So anyways, it's a good today.
All right. Well, that's all I got today. You got Leno born. You got Mussolini died. And
Mussolini really did kill my grandfather. He had him hung in Italy. My great-grandfather.
Cordy.
Well, I understand that, but it was my great grandfather.
No, I know that, but I said Grandpa Stanfield earlier. Grandpa Cordy.
No, yes,
Great Grandpa Cordy.
Great Grandpa Cordy was killed.
And then your grandfather.
Gizelberti.
Huh?
Actually, they were Gizelbertis was the name.
They changed it to Cordy over here,
I guess so.
or was that be? Would that be your mom?
My mom's grandfather. She never met him. Or my mom's great grandpa.
But would that be on your mom's side? On her mom's side, though?
No, they were English.
So it was Grandpa Cordy's?
It was Grandpa Cordy's Italian, 100%. Dago.
But I'm just trying to figure out when the name changed.
Sometime between the time they got on a steamer boat and came over here, because the Gizelberti name is at Ellis Island.
And they said, "Fuck it, we're going Cordy."
I don't know why they changed the name.
You got to ask your mom that before she dies.
She don't know.
You don't think so?
Not now. She probably did when she was younger.
Oh, I'll ask her next time I see her, since you won't. All right, that's my today, April 28th. Love you. Bye. Watch for deer.
Bye.